Welcome to another episode of the Heroic Hotline. We are blessed to have Matt Aujero on as a special guest today. Matt runs a ministry to men called the Fight Club. Is that right? Or
Yeah, Fight
Catholic Fight Club?
Fight Club Catholic. Yep.
Okay. And what's that all about? I'm always good for down for a good fight.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely, Sean. Yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah, Fight Club Catholic is it was born on this premise that young men desire freedom and purity of heart, and how can we invite that desire into a fight for Christ's pure love, their fight for their future bride, and fight for their brothers in this battle. We began in 2013, just with five guys, and when I was a campus minister at University of Maryland, um, and one of our five, he was looking at pornography once a day. The statistics there is 8 out of 10 guys, 18 who are aged 18 to 35, are looking at pornography. 1 out of 3 are looking at it daily, and this particular student was looking at it every day, and he was going through our program, meeting weekly, and in our invitation of a daily rule of life. And uh, he goes 3 months free from pornography, and he says something to me that changed my life. He says, "Guys, pray for me." I said, "What's that?" He says, "I feel like I'm called to go to seminary." And that's when I realized that this is a ministry to allow men to see Jesus Christ. Um, Two of our original five went to seminary that year, and in fact, since 2013, we've had 20 men go to seminary, and three of them have become priests and countless marriages. So it's just been amazing to just be a part of.
That's awesome. And that's what's so important is for young men to be given the knowledge that they should open themselves up to what God wants for them in their life. And pornography, I'll never forget our first men's conference. Steve Wood talked about this in 1998. It was our very first men's conference. So it he did a talk on pornography, and there was 250 guys there. These are good guys wanting to be better fathers and husbands, and 200 lined up for confession right after that talk.
Wow.
So it's definitely an area that we need to support men to work through. And I know that even secular society is starting to catch on to the dangers of pornography. So good for you.
Yeah, praise God. I mean, you know, one way to look at it is just seeing how dark this epidemic is. But the way we see it is, if 8 out of 10 men are looking at pornography and desire freedom, like, imagine if we could reach that same percentage of men for Jesus Christ and his church. Imagine if we can invite them to unite their sufferings of Christ, even in the midst of struggling, even in the midst of suffering. If they united that sufferings of Christ for a loved one. I just had a Fight Club meeting earlier today, and I'm offering it for a friend of mine, living in Colorado, and for her marriage. That grace already can be super impactful. And imagine if all these guys were just offer up that grace back to the church. I think that alone would change the world.
So you talk about offering it up. So what what are we talking about here? What are we offering up that you're doing in your meetings? What does that look like?
Yeah, I mean, every meeting we have three questions. What? How am I fighting for pure love and Jesus Christ, my bride, and my brothers? Number two, what's my SMART goal? SMART meaning specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, time bound goal. for next week. And then that third question again, whatever we're going through, and Fight Club is not just for guys who are struggling with pornography. It's also it's based on Matthew 5:8. Blessed is the pure heart, for they shall see God. So it's also anything else in our life that's preventing us from seeing Jesus Christ. For many of our guys who are free from pornography, it's also about just being free from excessive screen time. For example, and how can I, me and my buddy, we were talking about how can I limit my unintentional screen time, and so that is, yeah, that can be a struggle, or that can be a sacrifice, and anything that's hard, I'm going to offer that suffering for a loved one. A lot of times I offer it for my wife and my 8 kids, and but yeah, so it's just uniting uh whatever we want to struggle with prayer, and all of a sudden that becomes uh grace.
And that's so important to, because we all have things that we struggle with, and there's temperance is something that we all need to learn, and even myself, just the last couple confessions or couple months where I'm trying to find that balance
Hmm.
of, you talk about screen time and where you work so hard and then you just veg because you're dead tired. So trying to find balance and having, that's so powerful, taking that opportunity to offer it up as a prayer when you are going through some of the hard parts of changing your life, whether guys with exercise or eating, or there's lots of opportunities to join that.
Yeah, I think part of the beauty is we're building brotherhood behind this desire to cling to the cross. Uh, just this morning, I pray with other men at 6 a.m. In front of the Blessed Sacrament on Wednesdays, and I never want to get up, but I got up for those other men who are also going to be there at our church here in College Park, and so there's a huge power in giving these young men permission to fight together. Just a few months ago, I met one of our leaders in person for the first time. Run 27 chapters across the country, and he says, "Hi, Mr. Harrell. I just want to thank you for starting Fight Club." And I was like, "Tell me your story." He said, 4 years ago, I was a senior in high school, and I was so tired of fighting the fight by myself. And my parish priest told me about that there was a fight club at University of Maryland. And Mr. Harrell, that's actually one of the reasons why I chose Maryland. Oh my gosh, praise God! And he went to Maryland. He found other men he could fight with. Yeah, he eventually broke free with pornography. He became a leader, and by the time he became a senior, he was passing down his leadership to another person. So just an amazing story of what when you give guys permission to fight together in brotherhood.
Well, and that's what heroic men is in business to do, is help create opportunities for brotherhood. And that's why I'm glad you're on the show today, just showing another brand of what that brotherhood looks like. uh, and it doesn't matter what the name of your group is per se. We want to see men coming together as men. As Father Larry says in his series Be a Man, there is no such thing as a lone wolf in this Christian fight that we're
That's
in.
right. That's right. Yeah. 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 It kind of comes down to my origin story, meaning I was a junior in college, and I had a reversion in college. You know, didn't think twice about chastity before I joined the Brotherhood my freshman year of college, and it was going against the current with these men that I had a reversion to the faith and my ideas about chastity and sex and all that. And when I was a junior, our chaplain he said, if and when you get to heaven, God's gonna help. God's gonna ask us, who do we help bring with us? And I just remember looking to my left and to my right, and just being so grateful to these guys in my life. And as you and I both know, we men we're too dumb to do it alone. And I told Jesus in that chapel, I said, I want to be part of the solution of bringing men to Christ through brotherhood. And I just told Jesus I want men, and gosh, that was back in 2008, and so here we are now, still at
What
it.
what was it that led to your reversion? Was it the teachings on human sexuality?
Hmm.
Was it a brother walking alongside you? What how did that how what's your origin story, as you called it?
Yeah, that's great. A little context. Like I was in high school, and I really wanted to do the right thing. I was in a relationship, and I really was searching for the answers or I was searching for a good example of someone who would treat their girlfriend right. And and I just didn't have any good examples. Anyone, like, no one. The best I got was a friend who said, just make sure you use contraception. And um, so that's what I went with. And it wasn't until college I was in this retreat, this freshman retreat, and this junior stood up and among all these guys as a men's breakout session, and he said, if you're saving sex for marriage, like, stand up. And I didn't think anyone would stand up, but all these like really cool juniors and seniors stood up. The guys I just played, ultimate frisbee with and all these sports with, and I thought who were really cool. And I just kind of like, whoa, what is that about? And I just remember on that retreat just telling Jesus, like, okay, I want to give my life to you. And then just joining a brotherhood. And I still wasn't convinced. Later after that retreat, you know to your point, I was walking along, a friend of mine, he asked me about my plan for college. And I said, well, I want to hit up the girl scene, and I want to hit up the parties, the drinking scene, and junior year I'll sober up and do what I'm supposed to do. And he just said, if you know what you're supposed to do by junior year, like, why wait? And that guy, his name is Anthony, became one of my best friends. Like, uh, I'm godfather of four of his girls. He's godfather of three of my eight. And um, yeah, we see each other every year, and it's a beautiful friendship. And it's just like that, the power of just authentic brotherhood, and but lined with just men who desire, who want to live in truth. That's what the cross is like this horizontal love standing on a vertical truth. And when you have those types of friendships, it's priceless.
That's awesome. Yeah, and that's so important. And you're reaching the younger men. That's where your niche is, and so many of the men's ministries out there are wanting ways to reach young men. What have you found most successful in doing the outreach for young men?
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing was born out of college ministry, right? And so that's kind of like our bread and butter, niche, if you will. And the way we've grown is like people, college students or focused missionaries, reach out to us, and they want to replicate it, and we'll send them material. By the way, if there's men out there listening, and they want to find freedom, and particularly with lust, for example, a great program I really love is called Catholic in Recovery. My good friend Scott Weeman founded that, and uh, about, yeah, a few years ago, and he took the 12 steps and introduced the Catholic faith and the sacraments into it. It's just super robust, very Catholic. But to answer your question, for anyone who's trying to reach young men, you have to empower young men to be leaders, to ask to answer those questions themselves. Um, our retreats, as smart and talented as I am, we always empowered our students to lead the retreats, and I oversee that student who's leading and overseeing the retreat because you know he's closer to his peers and understands the needs of his peers better than I do even, and so um, that's what I would do when you're trying to reach young men is find those few special people that who can be leaders and invite them into the decision making conversations about big stuff.
That's awesome. Uh, so you said you have 8 children, and you're doing the ministry. I too have 8 children, so
Wow, let's
I
go. All right.
I think I'm at the other end of the spectrum as far as
Probably.
where my youngest just turned 20. So
Oh my goodness.
uh,
Yeah, my oldest is 10. Yeah, there we go. So
there you go. So yeah, it's one of the things is you'll never stop being a father. I've learned uh, is your role is very important. So do you infuse that into the Fight Club, the role of being a father?
yeah, I mean, absolutely. Uh I think I one of the things that we talk to young guys about is, what you're fighting for is you're fighting for your future bride and establishing a marriage that where purity is at the heart of it. Well, Jesus Christ is at the heart of it, but a pure heart. And what do you want to offer and transfer to your children as men? Uh, Part of the reason Fight Club uh, that we've just accepted that ministries like Catholic Recovery is just better for people who are married and have children. Like the just from my experience, like the if someone's struggling and they're married and they have children, like me, admittedly, like very early in my marriage, it's a whole different ball game. Just too many they so like those people in your life, your wife, your children, that's so much at stake that needs a specialist, like a surgeon. And Fight Club, we it's a different conversation talking to a college student who's we want to go further up the river and preventing him from even like getting there is where we are in the fight. Um, and so yeah, but we talk about the ideas and the ideals of fatherhood. And what's beautiful is a lot of our alumni have become young fathers already. Just two of our recent leaders. One just had a baby this few months ago. One just had a couple weeks ago. I'm going to baptism this Sunday, and uh, so that's really beautiful to see how these guys who were once in the trenches, who were once looking at porn every day and didn't think there was hope for that. I remember when I thought I can't go past 2 weeks as a young guy. Um, and then like kind of just breaking through and quite frankly, like life really begins after that. There's so much more to life than just fighting uh pornography on a day to day. Um and yeah, there's just so much goodness, as you know, Sean, having kids and not grandkids, to be had, so to live a full life. I just remember for me, it was like living in a black and white world, and once being free, it's like living in a colored world. where you could see color.
Yeah, and what you're identifying is stuff that we've talked about wanting to help, especially men's conferences, where don't you want guys like me there, but they shouldn't be your primary target audience, because you don't want men saying, "I wish I'd done that
Hmm.
raising my family. This is what I'm going to do." Give them the tools to start the project, not after you've been building for years and then, oh, here's some nice tools to make your job a little easier. Where what
Right.
you're doing is giving them healthy starting relationships by dealing with the crap that the world's telling you is okay. And I remember once again Steve Wood, this was years ago, talking about research where college age men are some of the biggest users of Viagra and
Hmm.
other things because of the pornography consumption, that they can't respond to a normal woman, which I
Yeah.
can't fathom. But you know what I mean? Like, these are real issues that, if rather than our society, which is geared towards, well, here's a pill that will fix it, instead of looking at the underlying issue, the cause and effect of why relationships are broken and not working, we always try to find a pill that will fix it. Well, yeah, just give me a pill to fix that, right? So,
Yeah, I remember reading a book. Gosh, I forget what it's called, but it was about boys, boys and raising boys into manhood, and that was one of the things I learned was how porn can induce erectile dysfunction. And yeah, I don't know any guy who wants that, right? Like, I was like, nope, not for me. Like, definitely not. Like, and so even just as a secular point, for sure. And I guess I just don't. I'm so much about Jesus that I just forget about these natural motivators sometimes. That ought to be motivating, but yeah, for sure. Like, that's definitely happening. That's a real statistic. It's a real trend, and I think people just need to know. There was a book I have on my shelf too called "Rekindling Wonder." It's more about screen time. We have to understand that these things in our hands, our phones, are not morally neutral. Okay, it's designed to take us away from God. Okay, like let's just like take like let's just call a spade a spade. And so we actually have to be intentional with our technology. If we don't, it is intentional with us, you know. And so just really understanding that. I, I once I was talking to someone who his phone was his best friend. I was like, "What is that? Like, what are you talking about?" And just calling things as it is. It's compulsion. It's addiction. It's I write it in. For those who are listening, and you can grab a book on off our website, Fight Club Catholic. But we write about uh, uh, screen time and staying on there for an excessive amount of time. It's actually a turning aside to nothingness. And Joseph Pieper defines turning aside to nothingness as sin. And that can be really freeing to understand what is going on when you define it that way. And it's just like, oh, it's a turning aside to nothingness. It's severing my relationship with Jesus Christ. Um, I need to do something about it. And so, um,
well, and
yeah.
you're identifying something there. Guest I had on a couple weeks ago, the founder of Magisterium AI,
Hmm.
where one of the top uses of AI is as a counselor. Like when you talk about
Mm,
your phone as your friend, like it's amazing how many young men are going to AI for advice on relationships, on everything, and
mm,
that's why it's so important for us, as much as we like these videos and everything else that we're creating and this content, is the face to face meeting of brotherhood, or because we need that iron sharpening iron. It doesn't happen in an imaginary situation. So please keep watching if this helps you, but we want you to reach out to a brother and be present to your loved ones. So
yeah, absolutely. And sometimes there's two things about that about reaching out. I just want to just note on. One is sometimes you have to be the first one to be vulnerable so someone else can be vulnerable. And so like you have to ask for the grace to be the one who's vulnerable with someone else and like, hey man, can we have a beer? I'm just going through something right now. I think if you had that invitation like that in humility, a lot of guys would be like, yeah, let's have a drink, or let's have a whatever cigar. I'll meet you or whatever. Um, and number two is I just remember, when I moved parishes like 7, 8 years ago, I left like a pretty robust men's group, and I went to just my parish here where I live now, and there wasn't really much anything. And for 3 years, I just prayed with two other men at adoration about for the men at the parish. 3 years, and then we all went. Then this retreat came up, and we had this opportunity. I was like, so I invited a whole bunch of guys, and a lot of guys were on fire. And we came back, and we decided to start a men's group. The men's group's been going on for the past year now at our parish. So what I'm trying to say is sometimes we have to be the answer to our own question, um, through Jesus Christ and through His grace. But it's prayer has to precede it, and for us, it was 3 years of just showing up in front of the Lord and just praying, and that's okay. Um, so
well, Matt, I want to thank you for your time today and joining us on Heroic Hotline. Please keep up the great work that you're doing serving Jesus. And we pray that we continue to work together, building out the kingdom, raising up heroic men. And for those that are watching this program and feel that we need your help to pay it forward, as it will, uh, Heroic Men, which is powered by Catholic Men's Leadership Alliance in the US and God Squad Canada here in Canada. We're both charities that need your support. So consider making a monthly gift. Put us between your Netflix or your figure out one of the bills that you're paying and include include one of those charities in your giving. So thank you so much, and have a great day. God bless you all.
God bless. I'm a monthly giver myself. Whatever you're thinking, add a zero to it. That's what I did.
There you go.
All right.